Hey, Rockets, it's Mrs. Wilkenbush. I hope you're doing well. Oh, gosh, having a bad hair day already. And it's only, I don't know what day it is anymore. Hey, so I'm coming to you today with our book club Warriors by Erin Hunter, Into the Wild. We are going to be doing chapter 19 today. So here we go. Chapter 19. Greypaw and Ravenpaw were still patching the hole when Firepaw reached them. They had left a gap wide enough for him to squeeze back through. No luck with the garlic, Firepaw panted. He slipped in, dark stripes prowling around out there. Never mind, mewed Greypaw. We can get some tomorrow. I'll go and get you some poppy from Spotted Leaf, Firepaw offered. He was worried by the dull look in his friend's eye and the way his muscles seemed stiff with pain. Don't worry, mewed Greypaw. I'll be fine. It's no trouble, Firepaw insisted, and before Greypaw could argue, he bounded off toward Spotted Leaf's den. She was pacing her small clearing, her eyes clouded with unhappiness. Are you okay? Firepaw asked. The spirits of the Star Clan are restless. I think they are trying to tell me something, she replied, flicking her tail uneasily. What can I do for you? I think Greypaw could use some poppy seeds for his leg, Firepaw explained. His rat bites are still hurting him. The pain of losing Lionheart will make his injuries feel worse, but he'll mend in time, don't worry. In the meantime, you're right. Poppy seeds will help. Spotted Leaf went into her den and brought out a dried poppy head. She placed it on the ground. She placed it carefully on the ground. Just shake out one or two and give them to him, she meowed. Thanks, Firepaw mewed. Are you sure you're okay? Go and see to your friend, answered Spotted Leaf, avoiding his gaze. Firepaw picked up the poppy head between his teeth and began to walk away. Wait, Spotted Leaf hissed suddenly. Firepaw spun around expectantly and met her tawny gaze. Her eyes burned back at him. Firepaw, she hissed. StarClan spoke to me moons ago before you joined the clan. I sense they want me to tell you this now. They said only fire can save our clan. Firepaw stared at Spotted Leaf, mystified. The strange passion faded from her eyes. Take care, Firepaw, she mewed in a normal voice and turned away. See you, Firepaw replied uncertainly. He padded back through the fern tunnel. Her strange words were echoing in his mind, but he could not make sense of them. Why had she shared them with him? Surely fire was an enemy to all who lived in the forest. He shook his head in frustration and bounded over to the apprentice's den. Greypaw! Firepaw hissed into the ear of his sleeping friend. They had been allowed to rest all morning after working on repairs most of the night. Tigerclaw had ordered them to be ready to begin training at sun-high. The strong yellow light filtering through the den told Firepaw it was already near that now. He had a restless night. Dreams swirled through his mind each time he fell asleep, confusing and indistinct, but all full of darkness and menace. Greypaw, Firepaw hissed again, but his friend did not stir. He had eaten 2 poppy seeds before he slept, and now he was in a deep slumber. Are you awake, Firepaw? Ravenpaw mewed from his nest. Firepaw spat silently under his breath. He had wanted to talk to Greypaw before Ravenpaw awoke. Yes, he replied. Ravenpaw sat up in his bed of moss and heather and began to wash with quick flicks of his tongue. Are you going to wake him? He asked, nodding toward Greypaw. A deep voice growled outside the den. I hope so. Training is about to start. Firepaw and Ravenpaw jumped. Greypaw, wake up! Firepaw poked his friend with his paw. Tigerclaw is waiting. Greypaw lifted his head. His eyes were still heavy with sleep. Are you ready yet? Called Tigerclaw. Firepaw and Ravenpaw crept out of the den, blinking as they emerged into the sunlight. The deputy was sitting beside the tree stump. Is the other one coming? He asked. Yes, Firepaw replied, feeling defensive on behalf of his friend. He's only just woken up. Training will do him good, growled Tigerpaw. He's grieved for long enough. Firepaw held the menacing amber gaze for a few moments. Warrior and apprentice, for a heartbeat their eyes were locked as enemies. Greypaw stumbled sleepily out of the den. Blue Star will be ready for you in a moment, Firepaw, announced Tigerclaw. The words distracted Firepaw from his anger. His first training with Blue Star? Excitement surged through him. He had expected his wounded mentor to be resting still. Greypaw, continued Tigerclaw, you can join my training session. Do you think you're up to it, Ravenpaw? He glowered at the apprentice. After all, you've got some pretty nasty nettle stings while the rest of us were fighting those rats. Ravenpaw looked at the ground. I'm fine, he mewed. Greypaw and Ravenpaw followed the deputy out of the camp of interest. Ravenpaw's head hung low as he disappeared through the gorse tunnel. Firepaw sat and waited for Blue Star. She did not keep him long. The Grey Queen emerged from her den and padded across the clearing. Her fur was still matted in places where her wounds were fresh, but she betrayed no pain in her confident stride. Come, she called to him. Firepaw noticed with surprise that she was alone. Dark Stripe and Longtail were nowhere to be seen. A thought occurred to him suddenly, in his excitement tinged with anxiety. Here was an opportunity to tell Blue Star what he had heard, what he had overheard last night. He caught up with her as she headed for the gorse tunnel and fell in step behind her. Will your guards be joining us? He asked hesitantly. Blue Star replied without looking back. I've ordered Darkstripe and Longtail to help with the camp repairs. Securing ThunderClan's base is our first priority. Firepaw's heart beat quickened. He could tell her about Ravenpaw as soon as they left camp. The two cats followed the trail to the training hollow. The path was strewn with freshly fallen golden leaves that rustled beneath their paws. Firepaw's mind raced as he searched for suitable words. What should he tell his leader? That Tigerclaw was plotting to rid him of his apprentice? And what would he say when Blue Star asked him why? Could he bring himself to say it out loud that he suspected Tigerclaw had killed Redtail? Even though he had no evidence beyond Ravenpaw's excited storytelling at the gathering? By the time they reached the sandy hollow, Firepaw had still not spoken. The hollow was empty. I asked Tigerclaw to hold his training session in another part of the forest today, Blue Star explained as she padded into the center of the hollow. I want to concentrate on your fighting skills, and I want you to concentrate on them too, which means no distractions. I must tell her now, thought Firepaw. She needs to know about the danger Ravenpaw is in. His paws prickled with anxiety. I won't have another chance. A sudden movement flashed in the corner of his eyes. A swish of gray whirled past his nose, and Firepaw fell forward as his forepaws were knocked lightly from underneath him. He staggered, regained his balance, and spun around to see Blue Star sitting calmly beside him. Do I have your attention now? She growled. Yes, Blue Star, starry, he replied hastily, looking into her blue eyes. That's better. Firepaw, you have been with us for many moons now. I have watched you fight. With the rats you were quick, with the Shadow Clan warriors you were fierce. You outwitted Greypaw on that very first day we met, and you defeated Yellowfang with your cleverness too. She paused and lowered her voice to an intense hiss. But one day you will meet an opponent who is all of these things as well. Quick, fierce, and clever. It is my duty to prepare you for that day. Firepaw nodded, completely caught up in her words. His senses were still fully alert. All thoughts of Ravenpaw and Tigerclaw had disappeared, and the musty odors and tiny noises of the forest rushed in upon him. Let's see how you fight, Blue Star ordered. Attack me. Firepaw looked at her, sizing her up and wondering the best way to begin. Blue Star was standing less than 3 rapid lengths away. She was twice his size, so it would be a waste of effort to begin the usual paw swipes and wrestling. But if he could leap straight onto her back with a powerful enough jump, he might be able to unbalance her. She hadn't taken her piercing blue eyes off him for an instant. Firepaw stared back and leaped. He had aimed to land squarely on her shoulders, but Blue Star was ready for him. She dropped swiftly into a crouch. As Firepaw hit her, she rolled onto her back. Instead of landing on her shoulders, he found himself crashing down upward on her upturned belly. She caught him with all 4 paws and flung him easily away from her. Firepaw felt he had been bundled away like a bothersome kid. He hit the dusty ground hard and lay winded for a moment before he scrambled to his feet. Interesting strategy, but your eyes betrayed where you were aiming, growled Blue Star, as she stood up and shook off the dust from her thick coat. Now, try again. This time Firepaw looked at her shoulders, but aimed for her paws. When Blue Star dropped to the ground, he would hit her as she crouched. Firepaw felt a rush of satisfaction as he leaped, but it turned to confusion as Blue Star unexpectedly sprang into the air and let him crash into the ground where she had just stood a heartbeat before. She timed it perfectly. As he landed, she thundered down on top of him, squashing the breath out of him. Now try something I don't expect, she hissed into his ear, climbing off of him and backing away with a challenging gleam in her eyes. Firepaw scrambled up, panting, and shook himself crossly. Yellowfang had not been so tricky. He hissed and leaped again. This time, as he flew at Blue Star, he stretched out his 4 paws. She reared up her hind legs and used her 4 paws to twist him away. And he felt himself slipping. Firepaw scrambled with his hind paws on the sand, but it was too late, and he flopped heavily onto his side. Firepaw, Blue Star mewed calmly, as once more he struggled to his paws. You are strong and quick, but you must learn to keep control of your speed and body weight so that it's not as easy for me to unbalance you. Try again. Firepaw backed away, hot and dusty and out of breath. Frustration raged through him. He was determined to get better at his mentor this time. Slowly he crouched and began to creep towards Blue Star. She mirrored his crouch and hissed into his face as he approached. He raised a paw and swiped at her left ear. She ducked to avoid his strike and reared up, towering over him. Quickly, Firepaw rolled onto his back, slithered beneath her body, and in one fast movement kicked his back legs upward into her belly. Blue Star was flung backward and fell onto the sandy earth with a loud grunt. Firepaw flipped himself over and leaped to his paws. He felt jubilant. Then he saw Blue Star lying in the dirt, and for the first time he remembered her wounds. Had he reopened them? He dashed to her side and stared down at him. To his relief, her eyes glinted proudly back at him. That was much better, she puffed. She stood and shook herself. Now it's my turn. She sprang at him, knocking him to the ground, then retreated and let him pick himself up before leaping again. Firepaw braced himself, but she bowled him over easily again. Look at my size, Firepaw. Don't try to stand up against my attack. Use your wits. If you're fast enough to avoid me, then avoid me. Firepaw scrambled to his feet again, preparing for her attack. This time he didn't dig his paws into the soft ground, but stood lightly, keeping his weight on his toes. As Blue Star flew toward him, he hopped neatly out of her path, reared up onto his hind legs, and with his forepaws pushed her flying body onward past him. Blue Star landed gracefully on all four paws and turned. Excellent. You learn quickly, she purred. But that was an easy move. Let's see how you deal with this one. They trained until sunset. Firepaw heaved a sigh of relief when he heard Blue Star. That's enough for today. She seemed a little tired and stiff, but she still leaped easily out of the sandy hollow. Firepaw scrambled after her. His muscles were aching and his head spinning with all that he had learned. As they trekked together toward the trees, he couldn't wait to tell Graypaw and Ravenpaw about the training session. And it wasn't until they reached the camp boundary that Firepaw realized he had forgotten to tell Blue Star about Ravenpaw. And that's the end of chapter 19. We'll see you soon, Rockets.